The great thing about being a moderator is I get to ask questions. I don't have to answer them. But I think we want to have this a conversation as much as possible. So, what we want to do is maybe facilitate the discussion. But again, we want to make it as informal as possible. So we want to invite you into the conversation. So at any given time, please feel free. If I see you standing up, we'll revert to you for the questions. But we have some questions that we want to start up with. I think it would help if we can get some introductions from our panelists here. Usec Maglaya, I'll probably get you to start. I hope you appreciated my plug for Senator Magsaysay. And then we'll have everybody, if you can just introduce yourself, spend 3 minutes or so, and the company that you represent.
Right. Thank you very much, Jojo. It was a comfort to hear what you said before the senator left about on DTI. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, and I really feel the passion, especially as you started this morning. I've been with the government ever since I started working. I won't say how long and since when. But I see that all of you here are very young and are like my children already. The Department of Trade and Industry has been really a staunch advocate of consumer protection. It is one of the pillars that we really draw our mandate from. We both encourage business and we also empower consumers. So this is really a balancing act that the DTI carries. But in the area of consumer welfare or consumer protection, more and more we're looking at a deregulated regime. If that gives you comfort, we want to have less and less of regulations, but we need partners to strengthen the advocacy and protection for as far as consumer welfare is concerned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Usec Maglaya. Can we hear from Oliver?
Hi, I'm Oliver, the founder and CEO of AVA. AVA's a small e-commerce startup. Our goal is to help premium design brands to get online. The big problem a lot of small brands face here, as some of you might know, is it's very hard to find retail space and to create a distribution channel for all over the country. So that's kind of the space where we work on. Like you, I'm also pretty new at this. My former life was very offline. I used to sell Safeguard soap, Olay moisturizers, and Whisper feminine care pads. So like you, I'm also learning how e-commerce is growing and evolving in the country. And on the side, I write and blog for hbr.org.
Thanks, Ali. Allian?
Yes, my name is Allian de la Cruz, and I'm the head of customer experience for Multiply.com. I'm with Jack. My background is really in the call center industry, and it's been 10 years, or yeah, more than 10 years since I left, or since I've worked with that industry. I started as an agent, so I know how it feels to answer calls, to answer emails, and to receive all the ranting of the customers. And right now, what we do in Multiply is we reply to buyers and sellers and make sure that we are able to mediate between them and respond to their inquiries and resolve whatever concern that they have. So that's it.
Hi, my name's Nick. I've been working for the last 4 years for a company called Zendesk. When I joined, it was around 9 people, and it was still a startup. They'd recently got their funding, and in the last 4 or 5 years since the company's been started, we've grown to become the largest provider of web-based customer service software in the world, with well over 25,000 customers, including many of the businesses here today. The one I can tell you about, because they allow us to say their name, is Groupon, which is one of our largest customers. So if anyone, and Multiply, but you guys have not given us permission yet to say your name, but now you have. So Multiply also are a customer of ours, as well as some other businesses in the room. So yeah, Zendesk, we basically provide, we have our own customer service team, which it's interesting to see how that's grown. We've grown from 9 to 350 employees now, so we have our customer service team's become quite large. But basically, we're a software producer for e-commerce services and other types of business.
Okay, great, thanks. So I think we've got a good representation of panelists here. I'm actually going to move here because we're going to try to have a discussion. Maybe, Nick, can we have you move your seat over here? And we're going to try to just, you know, we're trying to do a Q&A as though we're just having a conversation. Is that okay? Okay, and then please, if anybody wants to interrupt, just tap the microphone and then we'll ask some questions. And I think, Lex, you're going to let me know if there's an SMS question. Okay. All right. So let's start with, I guess the first question here is about the e-commerce adoption and its growth and how it's, you know, in some ways either hindered or impacted by customer service, right? So it's grown significantly. As maybe you've seen earlier, it's about 5 billion pesos, you know, or maybe upwards of 10 times that if you include the other forms of services. So we've moved from early adopters basically to mainstream users. So what do you think is the general view of consumers right now in terms of customer service? And maybe as a start, what I do is maybe we can validate. I know a lot of you guys, who are e-commerce consumers here? Raise your hands, please. Okay. Yeah, so almost all of you guys, right? So can you continue raising your hands, please? Now, with your hand, I want you to either give us a thumbs up if you think your customer service experience in the Philippines was good, neutral, you know, so-so, and then bad, thumbs down, right? So those guys who have, so what's been the experience? I see some thumbs up, neutral, neutral, some bad. I think I'd say it's wavering from neutral to probably neutral, okay? So what do you guys think? So it's maybe Usec Maglaya. I mean, since you have the consumer welfare at your disposal.
All right. In 2012, we had 100, almost 200 complaints on online buying. Not just on compliance to promos, but even on vouchers, not being able to connect when they want to reserve. And I think, and I understand now why it was really more on travels and hotels, because the bulk looks like really comes from this type of promos and offers. But I'm just reminded of a call that I got on a Saturday of a newlywed who were both on their way to a honeymoon, but couldn't even get an answer for a voucher that they paid for. So this may be an isolated case, but this is something that makes us feel worried about. That's why we believe that as trust is really established in this kind of, in this new way of selling, customer service is very, very important. The DTI set up its consumer welfare desks. These are private-run desks, customer service counters, online agents or call agents answering calls of consumers who would like to ask about what they bought or a service that they paid for. And since the time we started this, from an 70-30, where 70% of complaints were all lodged with the department and 30% was to the store or the supplier, it is now the other way around. 85% of complaints go straight to the seller or the store and is resolved faster, much, much faster than if government takes on. So only 15% is left with us. The same thing we want to happen for e-commerce, that less and less of regulation and more of self-policing and taking care of the services through a proper way of servicing the clients and the after-sales service of merchants and online sites.
Great, thank you. Maybe I'll just move around and hop off to maybe Nick. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I mean, my experience here is Zendesk, we sell to business, so.
Can you hold your microphone close?
Sorry, we try to give them a good customer. I mean, I don't know, I'm not particularly clued in on customer service in the Philippines. I've only ordered a few times online in the Philippines, but
that's okay.
In terms of what we do is we provide customer service software. So people generally, as it's the buyers of our software are generally customer service departments, like Allian's department, then they generally expect us to give them a good customer experience quite quickly. And we found that the main things that people care about is things like first response time. So even if your response isn't particularly intelligent, as long as you get back to people within 20, 30 minutes, then they're generally happy, even if you say something kind of stupid.
Okay.
But as long, and then, you know, once you get a conversation going, the customer's happy and you can kind of resolve it. And we do things like NPS, or Net Promoter Score, and satisfaction ratings and things like that.
Okay, so in your view, Nick, it's in general, I guess in maybe along with Usec Maglaya, it's neutral. It's the sentiment is definitely they're dissatisfied consumers. But you know, I guess the question is it any more than you would a comparable industry? And I don't know what a comparable industry benchmark here in the Philippines is. But that's maybe one thing you can think of when you answer the question. You know, is the consumer sentiment in e-commerce actually worse off, or actually about the same, or actually better? Yeah, you think it's in the Philippines?
Well,
and again, I think you said you don't have as much experience, so maybe we'll move on.
I've been in the Philippines
Okay.
for a year. My experience of buying online has definitely been slightly more of a struggle than buying from Amazon.co.uk in England, which is
Okay.
a bit more efficient than buying here locally, perhaps. But
Okay.
we sell to businesses. For the Philippines, for us, we sell online. So in a sense, we're an e-commerce company, and you know, it's been a very good market to us. We've seen like over 300% growth the last year, and
Okay.
maybe ask the people.
Yeah,
who
maybe
are
I'll get
selling directly
Ollie
to
and Allian
consumers.
to speak more. I'm sure, Allian, you've got, I'm sure, a good understanding of consumer sentiment, right?
Consumers nowadays are more educated and informed as compared to previous years. They have they have all the means to check the background of the company that they are going to buy from. They can search it via the internet. If they don't like what they see, they move to the next one. For them, customer service is really the differentiator when it comes to doing business. Because for product features, they can easily be duplicated or they can be copied. And we've seen the consistent battle between the gadget companies copying applications or copying the software. And when it comes to prices, that can also be taken away because of the deal sites. They can offer discounts, they can offer better deals, they can offer freebies. So if if the customer experience is very good, then definitely that will be the differentiator, and that's what the consumers are looking for right now.
Good. Thank you. Ollie, any thoughts on consumer sentiment?
Well, when we were first starting AVA, we had this big debate internally on to what extent customer service is going to play a role. Because on one hand, yes, people want the service, people want the personalized touch. On the other hand, we were also a startup. We didn't have the scale to hire 10 people to act as call center workers and support staff and all those things. And so we went back to scratch and we looked at examples of successful e-commerce platforms around the world, particularly iTunes and Amazon. And although they have a support system that you can email or call, you realize that interaction with another human being is not necessarily built into the core product experience. If you're buying on iTunes, you just click and it's all there. If you're buying on Amazon, you see that all of the product reviews are all there, all the pricing info will all be there, all the photos are accurate, all of that stuff. And we came to the conclusion that great customer service starts with the product, and that there's a way to design the product and the business model to minimize human touch points. Because at the end of the day, why do people call your customer hotline? It's because there's friction. They have a complaint, they're not sure what the product is like. There's a lot of friction. So what we did was we tried to design AVA in a way that minimizes those touch points. And when I say design, it's all the way from the business model to the website. So the first choice we made was to target a premium audience of people who already shopped online, on Amazon, who know how to use their credit cards, who know where to find the prices, that they don't have to post on our Facebook page how much po. That they know how to search for product reviews. They know how to fit, they know their sizes, so they can easily look at the fit charts and then see how it works for them. And of course, after that, obviously we can't avoid people still emailing, still reaching us out on Facebook. But what we did is, instead of hiring a dedicated support staff for customer service, we required all of our merchandising managers and account executives to be personally talking to customers. Myself as well, every now and then, if there's a customer inquiry, I will take it on personally. And that's where we are right now, and I think we've done a fairly, I think, okay job. Is that right, Usec? No complaints so far on the site? Okay, there you go. So,
That's okay.
It starts with the product, we think, in our company.
Okay. Thanks, Holly. So actually, that's a good segue, and maybe I'm going to segue a little bit to maybe the second to the last question. So from the voice of the consumer, right? And again, I mentioned about, think of what's the ideal, what's the benchmark? Customer experience, right? And Ollie mentioned it actually starts with product, actually, designing the product. But if, let's say that they have to talk to somebody, yes, right? What would that experience be like? And how can maybe, as us as e-commerce providers, actually improve our business so that we can, aim for that benchmark? So maybe think of yourself as the customer, maybe Usec Maglaya, if you can maybe can help us convey maybe where we are and maybe where we need to be from a consumer standpoint.
Based on our experience, a consumer is always happy whenever he or she gets to have someone on the other line. Whether the problem is resolved or the problem is addressed immediately, it's sometimes out of the... As long as he or she can vent and knows exactly that there's somebody on the other end of the line. I guess there has to be, the response has to be immediate. There has to be feedback or follow-up. It's not like putting calls and nobody's picking up the phone. It would be good to have really a call center for agents to really take on, because in our case, as we have our hotline that's open Monday to Sunday, 8 to 5, and we have a call center. All they do is get the complaint, and we get back to them within 24 hours. So there's feedback. That's very important. One thing with DTI, we don't get much of good news. Meaning to say, we don't really get the ones who appreciate and are happy with online buying or online purchasing. What we get are all complaints. So it is not. It's one side. What we want to see, maybe through this gathering, or maybe through this association, the good things, the good testimonials of those who really avail, so we can really help push e-commerce, particularly for this kind of platform. So there's a balanced view because Filipinos, as we are, when we're happy, we just stop. We don't say anything. We don't even give a note of appreciation. But when there is a problem, that's when they tell the whole world, even it's only one problem and everybody else is affected.
By the way, Usec, that's a global phenomenon. But so just to clarify, there's definitely the need to be responsive, really. And then the other is that that when they want to get in touch with somebody, there's actually a person. Now, I just want to confirm, it's not necessarily a voice call, right? It could be an email, it could be any other interaction. That's right. As long as it's a person.
It could be an email. We also do it through SMS. So as long as they get a response, they get an answer. But as what the senator was saying, and even Jack when he started his opening remarks, this is a new fields and is a new approach. While problems are not really growing bigger than what we want it to happen in terms of its progress, let's already work together on this. I mean, I was also involved with the Department of Transportation Communication in crafting the Passengers Bill of Rights, where we thought that we wanted to really deregulate and make sure that everybody's just doing their own promos and doing their own selling. But because of so many problems and complaints that came out, government had to step in. Maybe now, let's not maybe start by, wanting to move faster by bringing in government and doing lots of regulations. Let's help each other in this field, in this area.
Great, great. Thanks for that perspective. Anybody, I don't want to call on anybody, just volunteer if you have any thoughts.
I'll use my notes.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, Allian.
Since I come from customer service, I think I'll start there. The company has to invest in customer relations. They have to hire good people. They have to be able to train them, make sure that they are in sync, they know the product very well, because everything goes through those people, the frontliners. And I'm sure you will all agree that they're the first people that you will be speaking to when you have complaints or when you have something to say about that company.
Sorry,
yeah.
Allian, can I just maybe have you answer that from the perspective of the consumer?
Yeah.
What would that experience be like? Yeah. I mean, you said, yeah, there's definitely, you need to provide customer service. That's a given. But what's the benchmark? I mean, what do we need to be able to do to satisfy consumers?
They need to be able to have the specific skills in order for them to be able to resolve customer inquiries. So they need to be able to first listen. They have to know how to listen. It's a skill. They have to know how to respond to customers, how to resolve issues. Speed is very important. I don't care if you're going to solve the problem or not, as long as you give me an answer now, whether it's going to be delayed, as long as I get something today. Going back to the benchmarking, the second one would be having customer service numbers that are available and are posted everywhere or on the website. I've seen some online selling sites without customer service numbers posted. And it's important for a consumer to know where to reach or how to reach the customer service people in case something is wrong or something's missing from my package. The next one, a one-click help system. So if I need to buy something, just like what Ollie mentioned earlier, it has to be easy. I have to know how to choose the sizes. I have to know what color I want, if this size will fit me, because there is a different size in the US as compared to the Philippines. Third, an FAQ. So FAQs are very important. It's a standard for online selling sites, because you're not going to approach customer service people unlike what you do with face-to-face interactions. You need those answers, or you need those frequently asked questions in order for you to be able to get your answers now at 2 in the morning, right? So number 4, standard spiels. Since you're training your people, they have to answer the same way. Person A cannot answer this way, and person B will say this way. Or will say it this way, because of course the customer will be confused and will not trust the company anymore. The next for me would be removing pre-sale requirements. It's something that Multiply tried, or Multiply has been doing for
Can you clarify that?
almost a year now. I'm sure you've tried purchasing online, and when you're already on the shopping cart, the site will ask you to register and put all the necessary information about yourself. And it's time-consuming, and you want that item today, and you're going to spend another 10 or 15 minutes, and you would still have to think of an email address that you would have to make up in order for you to be able to sign up. But if it's easy to buy online and you don't have to go through that pre-selling requirements, then it's going to be easy for the customer to just purchase it and have it delivered at their doorstep. And I guess last one for me would be for product returns. Make sure that everything is seamless, that I can get the return or the refund on a certain number of days, and that if I'm not happy with the package or with the service, then I may be able to get a replacement or a discount coupon, or at least I know what to do in case something is wrong. So I think those would be the benchmarks when it comes to providing excellent customer service for a basic online site.
Great. Thanks for that. Anybody? Sorry, it's not Ollie, right? It's Oliver? Yeah? Is that okay?
Either way.
Okay, all right. Or Nick or Oliver? Yeah.
I mean, I think the ideal experience for a consumer buyer is not to have to contact customer service in the first place. I mean, if the website is and everything is designed properly, all over said. So it's, and when they do, if they do have to contact customer service, perhaps the shoes are too big and they want to return them, or any number of things that can go wrong. It's I think, as everyone said, getting a very fast response from someone who is well-trained and polite and coherent and you know, professional, then that's the most important thing. But that's also expensive for a company to provide that. When Zendesk was small, we did exactly the same thing as you. We had 10 people, the CEO, everybody was just doing the tickets that come into our system. There'd be anyone would respond to the tickets, whoever happens to be online. We're now 300 something people. We have 4 different teams in different parts of the world. We follow the sun so that it's 24 hours, so it's kind of 8 hour, 8 hour, 8 hour in different parts of the world. And that's expensive. It costs a lot of money. And also, you have to hire people that are, you know, well educated and can really understand, especially with a technical product. Maybe if it's a more simpler product, they don't need to be as well trained. But
right. So Nick, is it safe to say that we're doing our job well in terms of customer service as a provider? We don't need to buy your software? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Of course, we need customer service. Yeah, checkpoints. Okay. Sorry, Ali?
Yeah, just to add to the already great points mentioned here, one thing that we've learned is that the mood of the customer when they're on that phone or when they're writing that email is directly a consequence of their expectations. And so coming from a startup perspective, we can't promise the whole world. And the only thing we promise our customers is we're going to give you and showcase to you great curated products that are greatly designed, that are premium, products that you really, really love. That's it. We never promised 24-hour shipping. In fact, if you look at our page, you'll say there, I think, 5 to 7 days. We never promised free returns. And I think we do these for 2 reasons. Because number one, we don't want to make promises we can't keep, or can't keep on a sustainable level every single interaction with the customer. And number 2, it's not our market. Our market are people who are already savvy with shopping online. And from a value proposition and business model standpoint, we are better off focusing on just finding the best products out there and putting it on the site.
Great, thanks. Sorry, do you have a follow-up?
May I just say, consumer awareness has really gone up. Over 8 years, from 40% is to about 70%. To about 70%. And information is very important. Full disclosure is very important. Customers get the confidence when they see something. It could be a standard and a seal that would give them comfort to say that this is one, first, is a legitimate seller. Second, that they follow the code of conduct or code of ethics of this kind of this distribution scheme. It's like what we're doing with the Ad Standards Council. They are a self-policing outfit. They do the review of ads because we are also very concerned about misleading advertising. But the ASC, or the Ad Standards Council, also puts a seal of all the ads that pass through them. Because as we also check for sales promo, we are now working with them so that if they go through this and check, we don't have to do it all over again. So we will leave it with them just to make sure that they have the same standards that are supposed to be followed based on the Consumer Act. So it's a matter of harmonizing and synchronizing their standards to what government also requires. So they will do it for us in a way without us, spending also resources and manpower to do it as they do it for their members.
Great. Okay. So there's a lot of consumer awareness. Okay, so we've got a question on the floor. Can you introduce yourself and the company you represent? Although I know her.
Hello, hi. I'm Tina from Ensogo Living Social. So Jojo knows me. I think the question that I have, and probably a lot of other people in this room also have, is what are the most common customer complaints or inquiries, so those are 2 different things, that you guys get from your businesses? And what have you done to address or avoid these issues?
Okay, so the top customer complaints, maybe just the top 1 or 2, and then what actions have you taken? Yeah. Anybody? Each one.
I can start. So I'll start with increase and then concerns. When we first started, we actually thought that 100% of our inquiries would come from users. But over time, the mix has been 50% users, 50% merchants. These are people who want to be featured on the site. And originally, we were never built for that. So what we did was we just designed informally a system on how to get back to these merchants and engage them and ask them for more information on what their brand is, what's their objective to go into e-commerce. On the customer side, the inquiries would typically involve restocking. So in that case, it becomes a supply chain problem. On the concerns, I'd say they're very typical. They're not out of the ordinary. The first would be on sizing. They're not sure. For instance, even if you're working with one shoe brand and the shoe brand has obviously different SKUs, sometimes the sizing conventions could be different depending on where that specific SKU was manufactured. If it was manufactured in China or Turkey or Bangladesh. So we've had to deal with complaints, concerns like that. On the more negative side, I'd say the most common would be items that are damaged during shipping. Because at the moment in time that it leaves the e-commerce site's warehouse, anything can happen. We've had one scenario wherein our provider, I think the delivery van or the motorcycle got into an accident, spilled all of the merchandise on the street, and ruined all of the products. So, and we've obviously had to just replace that up front. So those would be the common ones. Nothing out of the ordinary, I'd say.
I'll be talking about complaints. So first with the buyers, since Ollie already mentioned most of the complaints, I agree with the courier issue. We have complaints about non-order fulfillment because they do not receive the package on time or they are not happy with the package. The item is damaged or something's missing from what they've ordered. What we've done with Multiply is that we've been trying different couriers and we've been trying several services and making sure that we are able to address the issue. If this particular courier still misses on, let's say, delivering on time, then we'd have to move on to the next one. So it's a trial and error thing. And being with Multiply for almost 2 years, then now we can say that we are almost on that perfect combination, or we already have that perfect courier who can service Multiply. Another one for buyers would be them not being able to communicate with the seller or no response coming from the seller. They want to be able to understand where the package is now, when it's going to be delivered. Can you change the shipping address to this location instead of the first location that I sent you? And if they do not have anybody there to talk to, they will contact customer service or they will contact Multiply and not the seller directly. So that's another major thing. Now, on the seller's part or the merchant's part, the first one would be disbursements. I'm not sure if everyone is familiar with how Multiply works. Multiply is an online selling platform. So the buyer buys from the seller but actually makes the payment and it goes to Multiply. And Multiply disburses that payment to the seller and the seller ships the item to the buyer. So the seller is now going to call us because they will be asking for their disbursement. So where's my money? I've already shipped the item. And we really cannot avoid bank issues. Sometimes we would have offline days and our system will not be able to connect to the bank. So of course, we will have complaints as to why the money is not there. Another seller problem is, just like what Ollie mentioned earlier, they want to be featured. They want to have an advertisement on the site, or they want their goods to appear 20 times instead of the usual 5 times. So that's another problem. And just like what Usec Maglaya mentioned earlier, the seal is important in order for us to be able to establish trust. That's why I'll be, again, talking about Multiply. We have a trust badge that we give our trusted sellers. They undergo verification. We check the location of the store or the house where the items are. We take photographs just to make sure that everything is in order. If they're selling baby clothes, they really have baby clothes and everything's clean because they're for babies. We get their DTI permits and their valid IDs and their proof of billing. So just to make sure that the seller really does exist. Now, if we have all those information, we can guarantee the buyer protection. So then in case something happens with the order, let's say it does not get there, then Multiply will return the money to the buyer. And we will not credit the payment to the seller. So there are sanctions that will have to be imposed on the seller if in case that happens. And so we're able to appease both the buyer and the seller at the same time.
Okay. So and in summary, I think there's definitely a couple of issues that have been brought up. There's logistics. There's basically streamlining of processes. I'll try to abstract it as that. So because I think a lot of cases, you know, us as an e-commerce site or service provider, we're really intermediaries, right, between the products that actually need to be delivered to the customer or the service that need to be delivered to the customer. So the way we actually craft that seamlessly, and you know, borrowing to Oliver's point about it starts with the product, how we can actually make that streamlined is probably the key to improving customer satisfaction, right? So Nick, this is probably a plug also for you to with customer service, right?
So our number one asking for help is usually with like setup assistance. They want to be able to configure something in the software, or they want to be able to do something. So that's the number one inquiry we get. And when it turns to a complaint, or when they get when a customer gets angry or complains, is usually when we haven't done that thing, the first thing, help them set up something quick enough. So they'll ask us if we can help them with something, and if we don't get back to them fast enough, or if we do get back to them but it takes so long to do it, then it turns to a complaint. But we rarely get a complaint right off the bat.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Jack, maybe that's a note also for, we mentioned earlier about logistics. I think there's a session on logistics. That's why you pointed out it's very critical. Okay, so yeah, question on the floor. Maybe you can, oh, so Jack's got a question.
Oh, just a very quick one before Cherry. You know, I'm glad that Zenny mentioned the idea of a seal. It's actually very timely because one of the most important initiatives that DCOM is going to propose and work with our members and will propose to the DTI is really a DCOM seal. And I think the reason I want to mention this now is that one of the most important criteria for a DCOM member and merchant to have a seal is their quality of customer support. So we're working on that criteria. So I just thought I'd share that with everyone.
Thanks, Jack.
Thanks, Jack. Hi, Cherry Miguel again, CEO of Chiquiva Marketing. Sorry for my voice. Hi, Jojo. I'm your I also graduated from UC Berkeley anyway.
Go Bears.
Coming from a matured, excellent customer service back in San Francisco, California, there's nothing like San Francisco or developed countries' customer service excellent. Philippines is so bad with customer service. They don't know how to listen with the problem, okay? You put something in line there, which is not even, doesn't know how to talk with people, doesn't know how to answer, doesn't know, I'm sorry, Mom, they talk like that. You know what I'm saying? They don't know how to listen. They're so poor customer service. And they're so slow. They don't know how to listen. They're not polite. They're not polite at all.
Cherry, so can I just confirm, are you talking about e-commerce specifically, or are you talking about customer service in general in the Philippines?
I'm talking about customer service. That's our topic, right?
Yeah, are you including the offline
What's our
sites?
topic today? No,
sorry.
it's a customer service.
Yeah,
am I correct?
Yeah, I just want to confirm.
Okay.
Is it just e-commerce, or are you talking about just
We're talking about the e-commerce customer service.
Okay, all right. Just want to clarify.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they talk like everything is scripted, you know? It's like, oh, my boss told me this, my boss told me that. Who's your boss? I want to talk with your boss. Oh, no, ma'am, he's in lunch. Can I talk with the second to the boss? Oh, no, ma'am, he's in the restroom. What the hell is this, right? What's going on with the Filipino customer service? It's a crap. I'm sorry to say that. So they're not a very jolly person. I don't know why, because maybe the amount of their salary is so shitty. I have no idea. But the problem is not about the shitty compensation or shitty stuff.
Okay.
Doesn't matter about the compensation. it matters most is how you talk to people. It's the customer service. It's not because you paid like $1 per hour. It's not about that.
Yeah, agreed. So is there a question there, Sherry?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing is they don't know how to fully disclose. Like Undersecretary Maglaya said, when you're doing an e-commerce, like I have a big problem with Lazada one time, okay? Lazada is not a very good, I'm sorry to say that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to say that, okay? One time.
I think, sorry, if we can just maybe limit the question to comment to a question. So
Okay.
we'd like to probably get this to be more interactive with the panelists over here. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so what do
is
you
that
want me to do?
Oh, sorry. We were going to ask, this is open for a question and answer.
That's correct.
Yeah, I mean, we acknowledge your comment.
Uh-huh.
Is there any other question that you would like to pose to the panelists? Because we'd like it to be a conversation.
So you as the panel there, what can we do to help our customer service in the Philippines to be great like developed countries?
Well, I'd like to say this.
Thank you.
I mean, I grew up in England. It's a developed country, and I have to say that the customer service in England is appalling. It's not great. I also lived in the United States, in San Francisco, for over a year when I was a late teens, and I don't think it's that great there either. And in the Philippines, yeah, you do get these problems where sometimes you talk to someone in a restaurant, if you do have a complaint, they say, sorry, sir, I'm not sure if maybe they're a bit insecure with English or something, so I don't know, I don't speak Tagalog. But there is a reason why the Philippines is the #1 center for Western developed countries to outsource their customer service to. That's because the people are quite friendly here. They speak excellent English, and in an American accent too, if they're trained properly. So I'm sure there are a lot of problems. I mean, nowhere's perfect for customer service, but I think the Philippines is actually, I mean, it's sort of a bit of the mecca for customer service in that, Western countries choose to place their customer service here in the Philippines because the people here are pretty good at customer service. So I would just disagree, really.
Okay, I think it's okay to have varying opinions here, right? So
Thank
we'd
you
like
for
to.
that opinion. That's your opinion, sir.
But
Thank you very much.
the pay is low compared within the West. You're right there in some places.
Thanks for your opinion.
I think, Nick, the whole pay thing is one of the key drivers. I agree and disagree with you, Cherry, at the same time, because like you, I've had shitty customer service here. But I've also had the best customer service here. And I realized that when it happened when I called Bank of America because I had problems with my US account, and it was a Filipino who answered. I was expecting to talk to someone in the States, and she was probably somewhere in Eastwood or in Makati. And I had the best customer service experience ever. And I realized maybe it's a whole talent allocation problem. All of the Western companies who are outsourcing here are getting the best people, whereas local companies, because they can afford to pay as much, are stuck. So I'm guessing it's both a combination of pay, talent development, and training. Because I think the raw ingredients are there. I completely agree with Nick that Filipinos are warm, friendly. With the right training and the right financial resources, we can definitely provide great service.
Yeah, because actually it's a Bank of America training them. So again, it's a Western company. Go ahead. Thank you for your answer, though.
Do you have anybody else want to comment? Okay, so thanks. I think one of the points that
Thank you
Sherry,
very much.
Thank you for your question. Well, one acknowledgement is that I think you alluded to it, Oliver, about finance. One of the challenges I think with e-commerce, we're such an early stage, right? That a lot of CEOs like myself, and I had one perspective on this. We think that if we set up a website, if we build it, they will come, right? But we forget that they build it, they will come, and they will call, and they will actually interact with us. So in many cases, I think customer service is sort of an afterthought, yeah, and then it really deserves a lot more investment. Okay, so I think I don't know how much time we have, Lexi. So is there?
I think we do have a text-in question.
Okay.
If we can get to that, please. If we can have it.
Can you give me a time check? Do we have another 5 minutes or so?
Yes, I think we have time for one more question or two more questions.
Okay.
All right.
Jojo, I'm okay now.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, sorry about that. Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so it's to Usec Maglaya. Sorry, I'll just vocalize it here. Has DTI made an analysis of on the types of consumer complaints in the recent years? If yes, what is the top 1 or 2 pain areas? So I guess it's similar to the question posed earlier. Pain areas of the Pinoy consumer.
Yeah, of the 200 complaints that we received last year, the top notchers would be on non-delivery of purchased items, non-acceptance or receipt of vouchers. And when they call, nobody's on the other side of the phone. Nobody's on the numbers that's given them. They cannot anymore reach. So those are the usual. But the good news is, once it's with us, we only are left now with about 20% still in process, all resolved. I mean, at least 80% resolved. Usually they refund the money or they agree on another date for the delivery. But they just have to know when and what's going to happen and not face a blank wall. I think that's really very, very important. But let me just say, customer service is very important, but it should not be the only factor. It should not even reach customer service. Right from the start, there should be good service that will not require customer service. So full disclosure is very important. Teach the consumers how to decide. So show everything, present everything, but do not promise everything that is not even there. Consumers don't still read the fine prints. They don't read. Sometimes they just think everything is okay and find out later that they have problems in the end.
Okay, thanks for that question. The one thing maybe I'd like to also add to that is we are such in the early stages of e-commerce, right? So our consumers here in the Philippines are still, I don't know if you guys are old enough to remember when ATMs came out and then you'd end up with somebody in front of you who can't figure out how to work the ATM, right? I don't know, sometimes you still work that. So in some ways, the consumers are also learning, and it makes it a bit of a challenge for us providers to also address the various skill level, right? So I think that's one point. By the way, I also want to add, is anybody here from Singapore or work for a telco in Singapore? You know, the complaint that was mentioned earlier is not just limited, obviously, to e-commerce. You know, in one point that I live in Singapore. Hello. And, you know, I was actually holding, and I'm a premium telco consumer. I don't want to mention which one. I was on hold for 1 hour. So I think we encounter these bad, you know, hello, consumer problems also in other industries. But clearly with e-commerce, we have a long way to go. Okay, can we have maybe one last question from the floor? Yes. Can we turn on the mic over there?
Hi.
Sorry, sir. Yeah, here.
Hi, I'm Chris Mercado from Movent. We're a digital advertising agency. With the prevalence of other sources of customers to contact brands, namely you have mobile, of course, but more often than not, you have social media already. How do you think these new media or channels will change customer service in the Philippines?
Actually, I'll add to that. So social media, right? So one controversial topic is, you know, some consumers will voice out their concerns in Facebook, right? So should you delete some of these bad comments? You know, is that an okay practice, right? So I guess is that okay? Sorry, what's your name? Sorry, whoever asked the question. Yeah. So social media.
They've invented the term cyber venting because that's what people do. They use blogging sites in order for them to voice out what their concerns are. They tweet, they use Facebook, and they message all their friends and badmouth the company. We're not supposed to delete the comments. They're already there. People have read them. Of course, if you delete them, people will wonder why they're missing. But nowadays, online selling sites are investing in people who are supposed to guard these channels in order for them to be able to screen and at least respond to those inquiries. Because there has to be somebody answering or at least clarifying the concerns. So I'll talk about a very recent issue with Multiply, we encountered a disbursement issue. So of course, there were a lot of sellers who were complaining via Facebook and via Twitter. So they were saying that Multiply did not disburse their money. How come it's been 3 days or so and so number of days? And the other sellers would echo the concern. Oh yeah, right. Oo nga, ang tagal-tagal, wala na bang pera? Nagsasara na ba sila? So they're saying, they're asking those questions. Are you closing down the site? Why aren't you disbursing the money? So of course, if somebody is watching, or there's a search engine optimization person, or there's a person who's supposed to watch those sites, then somebody can answer the query and explain why. And tell them that actually this is what's going on. We're having an issue with the bank, and this is going to be resolved in 24 to 48 hours, and you will be hearing from us. If you have further questions, you can contact customer service. So I guess that's the best way in order for us to be able to address the issue and at the same time be able to respond to the community.
Okay. So again, let's. I think the question specific to social commerce. So there's definitely some feedback on Facebook and what best practices are. So anybody else care to comment?
So with the tools similar to ours, you can collect in the social media channels and from Twitter and Facebook. And Southeast Asia for us is the most busy per capita countries. Indonesia and the Philippines produce more complaints via Facebook than any other countries for the size of the population than anywhere else. Most other countries use email. In Indonesia especially.
Nick, just want to clarify, these are complaints not specific to your product, but the companies that use your product, right?
Customers. So
okay.
Zendesk customers service something like 150 million customers worldwide.
Okay.
So we have a huge amount of data, and that's like hundreds of millions and billions of customer interactions come through our service. So we can measure like volumes of different types of complaint. You can see, right, these are phone, email is popular in this country. In Indonesia, is the most popular country in the world for making Facebook complaints. Philippines is like second or third after Indonesia.
Interesting. So hey, there are a few areas where we're actually number 1 or 2, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, well, I think social media, market penetration in Southeast Asia is on par with anywhere else. I mean, it's any developed country. I mean, it's huge.
Anybody else care to comment on that? Yeah. Okay. Lex, do I have time for another question? We've got a gentleman here, Ralph, I think wants to ask a question.
All right. Hi, I'm Ralph from Metro Deal. I think one important thing also to mention is that people here in the Philippines, when they have complaints, they love to lodge it through voice, meaning phone calls. So they always want to speak to someone. And the issue here in the Philippines is, at least for SMEs, to get access to cost-efficient call center system, meaning if you want to set up your own PABX system, it costs a lot of money. So whereas in the US or other countries, everything is already voice over IP, even for the very small companies. Obviously, there's voice over IP here in the Philippines as well, but it's only those huge BPOs having access to that. So if you're a SME with 50 people, there's a challenge because you need to buy one line each to have one caller come through. So if you want to have like 20 people being able to call you, you have to avail of 20 different lines and the hardware PABX system, meaning it's very costly. And there's various solutions in other countries, and I wanted to ask Nick, Zendesk is already using a voice capability, you know, that you have like your own number and then people can call that.
Voice over IP, yeah.
Right. So like when will that, you know, come to the Philippines? And
it's powered by Twilio on the back
right.
end, Ralph, and there's a few issues. We have to work with Twilio. Basically, have to, on our behalf, work with PLDT and Globe and probably mostly PLDT to allow us to issue Filipino phone numbers. And I think the talks are in process. We've only just recently got Hong Kong and Japan, and these voice over IP providers. The Philippines is actually one that we're going to do in the next 6 months. Singapore is one that's actually behind the Philippines on that because they require you to have a passport scanned and input into their government database in order to give you a phone number. Whereas in the Philippines, you don't have the regulation, and in pretty much every country, you don't have the regulation. You can just buy a phone number with a SIM card. So Singapore is actually one of the countries that has this kind of slightly
Okay.
blocking regulation.
Just to clarify, the company you're referring to, the mobile service providers, is it Twilio?
Twilio
Twilio,
are,
yeah.
yeah, it's a very cool company. It provides voice over IP kind of platform. Basically, allows companies like ourselves to build on top of their platform. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Okay,
So,
thank
Thanks,
you.
Ralph. Yeah. All right. Can we adjourn this session so that we can move on to the next session? Can we have a warm round of applause for our panelists?